Since I've already had the opportunity to do a first look review of the 2025 Ford Explorer, I figured I would take you on a road trip. So in this video, what I want to do is look at fuel economy, overall ride comfort, and yeah, seat comfort. We may even look at the wireless charger. So let's take a closer look at the 2025 Ford Explorer right now. Things that I want to talk about with regard to taking a road trip in the Ford Explorer has to be Blue Cruise. So we are just going to kick it off with that. And Blue Cruise, if you're not familiar, is the hands-free highway driving operating system. It has lane centering and adaptive cruise control, and it allows you to take your hands off the steering wheel. So we are on the highway. We are on a highway that accepts Blue Cruise. So I'm going to engage it by hitting a button on the steering wheel. It looks like your regular, cruise control button, but it's allowing me to go hands-free. And the way I know that is all of this back there turns blue. Now this camera here is watching my face to make sure that I'm keeping my eyes on the road. And this is a 2.0 system from Ford, and one of the interesting things it does, so I'm getting ready to pass a semi here on the right, and I don't know if you can see this right here, but it's essentially pushing me to the left in the lane to give the semi some extra space, and then once I pass the semi, it would lane center me again. So it's just giving a little extra room to the big guy on the right. Now this is a 2.0 system from Ford, which is better than the original Blue Cruise system that was in, the Ford F-150, the Ford F-150 Lightning. But it's still, I'm going to say, it's not as good as General Motors Super Cruise. And the reason for that is there is no automatic lane change. So I have to put my blinker on, and then it will change lanes for me. So I had my cruise control set at 66, but we're gonna bump that up because the speed limit is 75. But I had my cruise control set, and even though the vehicle in front of me was going a little bit slower, it did not automatically engage me to pass. So the Super Cruise system would sense that the vehicle in front of me was going slower, and it would automatically turn on my blinker, change my lane, and then change my lane back if it was necessary. But in this case, I had to hit the blinker myself, and then it would change lanes for me. Now we're going on a little bit of a curve here, and I really do appreciate the fact that this is definitely keeping me centered in the lane, and it's not like the previous system kind of like bobbled me between the lane lines, and it did not make me feel good about this situation. Okay, so we passed. I'm gonna institute another lane change by putting on my blinker. The vehicle is doing all the heavy lifting, but it did not automatically engage the lane change. So, I'm sure that will be coming, but it is not available yet in this vehicle. What else do I want to say about Blue Cruise? Oh, yeah, it will not operate over 80 miles per hour. So the speed limit here is 70. I'm going to go ahead and bump it up to 80. So it will allow you to go hands-free up to 80 miles an hour. So you can see still hands-free. But as soon as I take it up to like 82, it's telling me to put my hands on the steering wheel. So over 80 miles an hour, it will do adaptive cruise control, and it will still do the lane centering function, but it does want your hands to be actually on the steering wheel. And one of the interesting things that I noticed, so I'm currently going from Indianapolis to Chicago, but yesterday I was going from Chicago to Indianapolis. So one of the things I noticed yesterday when I was playing around with the system is it wasn't always sensing my hands on the wheel. Because I'm not going like this while I'm driving. I'm not like jerking the wheel. So I'm keeping my hands on the wheel, and I'm making sure that it's staying where I want it to be, but for whatever reason, the sensors on the steering wheel weren't noticing, and it kept telling me, put your hands on the wheel, put your hands on the wheel, and my hands were on the wheel, and so I would have to do like a little bit of a jerk. Okay, so the vehicle in front of me is going less than 80, so it's telling me I can take my hands off the wheel again. So I'm back into the hands-free Blue Cruise mode. So it's an interesting system. I think it works fairly well. It does have a couple of limitations, one of which is, yeah, you can't drive under or more than 80 miles per hour with your hands off the wheel. But like I said, adaptive cruise control and lane centering still works. It's just you got to keep your hands on the wheel. So good system, not a great system. I still like Super Cruise better. All right, I just passed Lafayette, Indiana, and I don't know if you can see the windmill farms in the background, but that's the stretch of I-65 I am currently on, and yeah, I'm still using Blue Cruise. So I wanted to get into a couple of driving impressions here because now I've been on the road for essentially 4 hours, 3 hours yesterday and an hour today. And so I have some opinions. Go figure, I have opinions. And the first thing I want to say is I really cannot make this seat comfortable for me. I don't know what it is about this seat, and this is the platinum trim with like multi adjustments for 3 different lumbar areas, so the upper, the middle, and the lower, and I've tried futzing with all of those things, and I just can't make this seat feel comfortable. I kind of feel like I'm hunched over, so I've like moved the top out, and then I feel like my I don't know, I just, for my frame, for my petite frame, I cannot make this seat comfortable. The other thing that is going on here is the fact that this car has a really high belt line, and that means that I just really haven't been able to get like a lot of height, and I feel like I'm sitting really low in the driver's seat, and so I feel a little bit like an old grandma, and I'm like, where's the beef? And if you don't get that reference, Google that shit. So yeah, I feel really short in this seat, and I don't like it. I don't understand why Ford doesn't employ the whole F-150 like kick down, and there's still like a couple of inches between the top of this headrest and the roof liner, so I don't understand why I can't get the seat up just a little bit more. So yeah, my driving position is not great, and the seat bottom is too long, and the seats are not comfortable, and they're a little bit hard, and I can't make this comfortable for me. So if you are looking at this vehicle and you're going to spend a lot of time in the driver's seat, spend a lot of time in the driver's seat before you buy this car. That's what I'm going to say about that. So in terms of other driving impressions, I've gone about 323 miles total in this vehicle so far, and my miles per gallon average via the trip computer is 21.6 miles per gallon. So take that for what it's worth. We'll look at it again when I get to Chicago, and we'll see where I ended. But right now I'm at 21.6 miles per gallon. And I've been going between, I would say, 70 and 80 miles per hour because the speed limit on I-65 is 70 miles an hour. So take that for what it's worth. I'm not going 55 miles an hour when it's 70 miles an hour. I'm just not going to do that. What else do I want to say about driving impressions? In terms of the overall ride comfort, I would say this is really solid. You don't overfeel the bumps and grooves in the road, potholes, things like that. This vehicle tends to take those pretty well. And again, on the highway, this is just a pretty nice, solid, comfortable cruiser. And I mean, I'm pretty much going in a straight line here, but this is comfortable. I've been listening to my podcasts. I really like the Apple CarPlay integration. I think it works really well on this vehicle, and I'm very easily able to move between getting text messages, listening to my podcasts, and then going to my map function to see how much longer, are we there yet? How much longer do I have? So, and I don't find it distracting, so it's really easy to use. Yeah, I don't know what else to say in terms of driving impressions that I haven't already said, so we'll check in when we get back to Chicago, and we'll talk about final fuel economy and a couple of tech features. Yeah. All right, I've arrived back in Chicago, and yep, I am in my alley before I park in my garage. And I wanted to talk about fuel economy. I've been sitting here for a couple of minutes, and so it has dropped 0.1, but I ended my road trip at 21.6 miles per gallon. And I'm going to consider that a win because this is the 3.0 liter V6 engine, and the EPA estimates you should get 21 miles per gallon in combined driving. Now, I will say probably about 390 of my miles have been on the highway, so I would hope that it would be a little bit higher, but again, I wasn't driving 55. But the EPA estimate for the highway is 25 miles per gallon, so I don't know. At any rate, because I hit 21, which, you know, is the combined fuel economy, I'm totally considering this a win because I'm usually much lower than that. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is going to be this right here, and yes, it is the wireless charger. Now, I really like the location of this phone charging tray, but I'm going to say that this did heat up and overheat my phone. Now, I finally got smart and I put the vent down so that it would hit my phone while it was in the tray, and it actually kept my phone cooler, kept it charging. But before I figured that out, it actually turned my phone off, and it said it would stop charging. I guess I shouldn't say it turned my phone off, but it stopped charging my phone because of the heat. Now, another thing that I want to say about this is a very particular charge pad, and I did have to make sure that I kind of moved my phone. Like, I had it this way, that didn't work. I moved it this way, that worked, but straight on didn't work. So you have to futz with your phone a little bit to get it in the right position to be able to charge. But once you've found that position, it stays charging. So that gets a thumbs up. So overall, this charge pad gets a little bit of a so-so for me for a road trip. So as long as you put your air conditioning down on here, it'll keep your phone cool enough. But if it's winter or if you don't do that, there's a chance it will overheat your phone. And that I didn't like. Now, there is one other thing that I want to say that I appreciated on this vehicle in terms of a road trip, and that is the fact that you do have a seat massager. And I definitely use that a little bit, especially since I couldn't find a comfortable seating position. So every once in a while I would just turn on this seat massager, and it kind of helped alleviate the discomfort I felt from not having the best seating position. Now, the final thing that I want to talk about doesn't necessarily relate to a road trip, but I still think it's important, and I'm going to throw it in here because I appreciate this even more after having driven my mother's 2014 Toyota Venza for the past couple of days, and that is going to be the backup camera, because this is a really good backup camera. So you put the vehicle in reverse, obviously, and you can see really well behind you. And what I like about this camera is, in addition to the around view over here, you have the dynamic lines that show up over here, and then you also have the red, yellow, green lines, so it shows you when you are getting close to, like if you're parallel parking, getting close to the car, backing into my garage, getting close to the back of my garage. I like to stop when I'm at the yellow because that means I'm going to have plenty of space between me and the vehicle behind me to maneuver if somebody parks super close in front of me, especially when I'm parallel parking on the street. And the yellow means when I'm backing into my garage, I will have enough space to open the door to my garage. So that is the big thing that I want to talk about, but I also want to talk about the overall clarity of this camera. This is high def, very visible, and as I back into my garage, you will notice that it is also really adept at handling the light changes. So, the sun is getting close to setting, and so it's getting a little bit dimmer than it would normally be than in bright sunlight. And look at that. So I'm backing in my garage. My garage is darker than this, and it's showing really good clarity. Now, I haven't played around with the settings, so I don't know if I can delay the camera to have it stay on even when I'm moving into the front space or moving into drive. Sorry, I'm paying attention to backing up and not what I'm saying. But at any rate, as I'm backing into the garage, you can see that it definitely maintains the brightness. Now, because I'm in the garage, my headlights actually just came on. And so when my headlights came on, the screen necessarily dimmed. And I don't know that I feel very good about that, because this is kind of that in-between time. That it's not necessarily bright enough. But I can still see really well. You have some different camera views to make sure that everything is in good condition. And, you know, I'm definitely in the right place to be able to, you know what, can I just turn off the headlights so you can see how bright this actually is? Yeah, so when I turn, because it's really actually very bright, and my headlights came on, so that's why it got dim, and it's just like that weird time for it's not bright enough or dark enough or whatever. But at any rate, so I like the brightness of this, especially as I'm backing into my garage. And then, you know, with the different camera views, you know, I can make sure, okay, the front end is going to clear the, well, that's an interesting build for a vehicle, but the front end is going to clear this, you know, the garage door shutting, so that's good. And then you can see the kind of, it's like a 180 view, and then again, you know, just kind of doing all of the things and making sure that I feel good about the position of the vehicle. You know, obviously I'm definitely close to the chairs in the front corner over there, but, you know, when I pull out, I just kind of curve around them a little bit. So that was really the last thing that I wanted to talk about with regard to this vehicle. I think it's overall pretty comfortable. If you're taller, you probably won't find the seats as uncomfortable as I do. And the Blue Cruise, like I said, works really well, but GM does it better. Sorry. That's all I have for you on this road trip tour with the 2025 Ford Explorer. If you haven't seen my first look review, be sure to go back and check that out. We will link to that above. And yeah, I will see you down the road.